Yeah.
And welcome to the Get Up and Scale podcast. Today we are lucky to have Spencer Finch on the show. He's an accomplished triathlete, an outdoor enthusiast, and he's the brilliant mind behind Mad Moose Rentals and Tours. He's got degrees in marketing and sales from Utah State University, and he is started off with rentalonme.com. And he's currently spearheading two innovative ventures, Exposure, which is an app for photographers, and True Life Nutrition, a nutrition consulting company. And he most primarily is an exclusive partner at Rise Executive Partners, where he helps motivated entrepreneurs streamline their operations for massive growth.
I gotta work, grind. That's just the way it is. I gotta get up, scale, and grow my biz. I gotta scale, grow, get up, go, scale, grow, get up, go.
Welcome to the show, Spencer.
Oh, there you go. Deep. It's like 80% correct. I gotta find out
what an intro.
What's
not correct in the intro here?
I don't know. There was one business I didn't recognize, so maybe my wife's like doing it. I don't know, but she does the dietitian stuff. So she's a dietitian, and we're launching.
I got your wife in there. Sorry about that. So. We'll cut that out.
But I told her I own the business. She worked.
Yeah, spousal. What is it? Community property laws, right?
Yeah, in Utah, anything the spouse does, it just falls under. Yeah. No, that's
hilarious. So what are you spending more time on, Mad Moose Rentals or Rise Executive Partner right now?
So I'm shifting. It's been a shift for the last 3 months, because Mad Moose got to the point where, you start to develop the org chart, which is super important in a torn attraction company, right? And you start to get to the point where you're like, okay, I got to separate myself from the business and define my position as a specific role so someone else can fill it. So Mad Moose, now I'm just in what we call a founder role, where I'm just meeting with the team monthly, taking care of the three main people on our leadership team. And that's about it. So now we're diving into what Rise is. And instead of basically going and scaling multiple locations with Mad Moose, I wanted to go and partner up with a lot of torn attraction companies and come in somewhat of a partnership level, not dealing with equity at all, but basically a monthly payment. We come in as partners. We'll grow up and scale the business. We'll grow and scale the business with you, and then implement a lot of things that we did to, grow direct traffic, right? We try and look at their sales channels and basically develop a base strategy so they can operate with revenue, whether it's a really busy season or a not so busy season, because you've got all these things that could affect it, right? Weather and just there's so many events that can throw off your tour rental business. Yeah. It's just way too many. So you kind of have to match that with sales channels, right? Some just disappear, like Airbnb for a lot of operators this year, or other things like that you've seen. So that's the majority of my day-to-day now, is just getting that built. So it'll be fun.
That's awesome. So Mad Moose, cool. Just so people know, ATVs, UTVs, boats, jet skis, slingshots. You've got a lot of toys over there. Did I miss any?
That's the majority of them. We basically are Polaris outfitter. So we are part of a network. They have now about 250 locations across the U.S., which is pretty cool, and one in Mexico. And they just launched a boat program. So for you guys in Florida, that could make sense if you deal with motorized stuff. They have a pontoon lease business model now. So they own Godfrey, Bennington, and Hurricane are the three boat companies they run. But basically anything motorized we do, and anything non-motorized we don't do anymore. So we definitely just found our niche.
And so people have an idea of the scale of what you've grown it to. Can you give us a summary of kind of, what that's looked like for you, and maybe how big the company's at now?
Yeah. Overall, we've scaled. In the beginning, it was just me, right? And I created Rental on Me back in college when you had to like hire a website designer from India. Like I remember like hiring a team and like trying to design a website with them for like a
What year was
peer-to-peer
that?
marketplace. That was like 2013 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
probably like 10, 12 years ago. And I was building like a peer-to-peer marketplace to rent your stuff, right? And I did that through college. I started by like buying 6 paddle boards just on credit cards to start renting out.
Smart.
And did that in school. I was like, yeah, wife didn't appreciate that idea, but I was like, hey, this is going to work. Worst case, we can sell the paddle boards to somebody and recoup most of the money, right? So we'll dive into it. But yeah, started with that, then moved back home because that was in Logan, Utah, and then moved back to Southern Utah and started in the motorized sphere. But yeah, over the past 7 years, we've grown quite a bit. Yeah, we basically specialize on torn attraction companies that at least do 500,000 a year, up to 3 to 5 million a year. So we're at the point where we're doing 3 to 5 million in gross revenue per year, and that's basically the goal for us, is to help other companies scale to that point if the market demand is available there. And if not, like if it's 1.5 or whatever, still operate with, you know, enough revenue at the end of the year for it to make sense. Because a lot of the times I feel like you've got to get that full picture in a business for the whole year, because a lot of the businesses are seasonal, right? So they feel profitable for like 5 months, and then winter comes around, they're like, oh my gosh, now what? You know? So yeah, we've really defined that model, I think, in the torn attraction side of things when it comes to like rentals and tours with a lot of equipment and costs. Yeah, and that's been fun. So that's kind of where we're at now. We've scaled back employees, and we're focused on more so cutting back expenses. And that's the easiest way for us to make more money than continuing to grow the business, right? We could implement new ideas, but we'll probably make a lot more money just honing in our processes and automating as much as we can.
What did that growth curve look like? You know, you said you're up to like 3 to 5 top line now. Over the last 10 years, was it pretty like steady year over year, or did it kind of go up and down and then peak at a certain point and now it's kind of leveled off? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, and we've kind of seen that pattern with a lot of companies, especially like the last 3 years, right? You had like a low year, and then you had a high year with all the traffic that came in, and then you have kind of a base middle year. So what we like to do is we get all the historicals from a business, especially if they've been open for the last 3 to 5 years, and we find like the base level profitable amount of traffic that would make sense for the whole year. And if you have more traffic than that, great, right? You're just taking in more revenue. But if you're below that baseline, you know what expenses you need to cut to still be profitable, right? So it's like, now we're going to work with our schedule and be more flexible. People aren't going to stay there all day. Maybe we need to cut back our open hours. So we have that lined out for the whole year, and that really helps, you know, scale up and down. So I would say over the last few years, it scaled up really quickly. And then we hit that top line. And I don't know if we'll ever hit that top line number again, where you can get up to
probably like 21
the
or 22 was like the high water
right,
mark.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you hit that top line, and that was like, cool. If we get up to that again, great. So we know what those expenses kind of look like, right? We can kind of like have something there to base a profitable expense line off of. But here's like the baseline that we'll probably do every year, right? And it'll land somewhere between 3 to 5 million each year. But we
That's
know
a big
what
swing.
expenses we need. Yeah, it's a pretty, I mean, you can have, I think there's big swings in tourism though. Like it's, at least from when we started, right? It might have been like pretty consistent 20 years ago. But if you started a rental company or a tour company in the last 3 years, you're just wondering what the heck's going on. Yeah. You're just like, is it me?
Definitely
is it
see
the
that.
business? Is it the customer?
We
you know?
we started in 2011 with our tour business and pretty much saw consistent, steady growth for all of our markets all the way through 2020. I mean, in almost every single market we're in, every single year we're growing. Certain markets would top off, like level off at a certain point, and they might slightly fluctuate. Never saw fluctuations once a market reaches maturity of more than like 5% up or down from that point. 2020 happens, it craters, and then it's been like a heartbeat sort of thing. Like last year we had markets that were down 30% over the prior year. Totally unheard of, right? Like at any point in our business's history, this is totally new territory for us. Like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden this year they're bouncing all the way back up. You're like, well, what do I even do with this information? How do I plan for the future?
Yeah. Well, and that's where like having a plan helps, right? I think the partners we've taken on, they're dealing with their operations like month by month, right? They're looking at like past month's numbers and making decisions based off of that, where we come in and build out like a dashboard for the whole year and for the past however many years we can and for the future year. And we say, okay, here's what we'll probably do that month. Here's what the expenses would need to look like, to match whatever that top line revenue is to make it profitable. And then at least you have predictions going in, and you can say, oh, we're doing better. It's probably going to be a better year. We might need a few more additional staff members, or you can pretty blatantly see and predict if it's going to be slower really quickly. So with us, we can since we're leasing our fleet, we can reduce our fleet numbers the month prior and forego that expense. So it really helps us predict and make changes on the fly instead of try and just look back, and you can't really fix anything about that.
So talk to me about this transition, right? From your tour business to Rise. What was going through your head, and how did you come up? It's a unique business model. It's a partnership. You're calling it a partnership, right? It includes some consulting services, ongoing services. It's not a franchise. It's not a license. It's more like a management consulting, ongoing engagement, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, for my, what I saw happening to a lot of tour and attraction company owners was they were spending the majority of the time in the business and working on stuff in the business, right? Like they're doing the day-to-day stuff, and they're not stopping and looking at holistically the business and working on the business. So our goal we found is people do 500,000 to 1.5, and that's kind of they either get stuck and continue working in the business, or they figure it out and realize they need, okay, it's not Spencer's rental company anymore, right? It needs to be Mad Moose. It needs to be a brand. And it's it's kind of a real thing, right? If you guys have gone through this, and you probably have, is where you're dividing yourself away from the business, and all of a sudden the business has an employee handbook, right? So it's not Spencer saying that I have to come into work today. It's Mad Moose, right? And the brand becomes its own living entity. So our goal is to go and partner with companies that are going to go through that transition, and that's the way they need to move, so they can actually move the needle on their business and work on it and then grow the revenue, or figure it out to where they can actually get their time back. I'm a big believer in, a lot of people get into the business because it's fun. That's why I got into it, is I just like helping people have fun. That's my thing. So it gets to a point where it could not be very fun anymore if you're just doing the actual work every day, right?
That's putting it very mildly.
Yeah. You never make a position to where you get your time back, right? So that's kind of my hidden agenda, is I really want to give families their time back so they can, get through that phase. And most people definitely appreciate that when they're oh my gosh, I can go in and do this and this because I finally found out how to delegate something, or how to make a process for something. All those SOPs and defining the whole customer journey, all that stuff.
Is Rise, is that something that right now is just you? Is there a team of people? What's the scope of how that works?
Yeah, so it's myself, and then I have a partner. Her name's Shelby. So she actually was a big part of Mad Moose, growing and scaling and implementing a lot of processes and operations. That's definitely her skill set over mine, which is more hey, I can go in and find a ton of direct sales channels and build up the marketing side of things. So yeah, she's played a big part in helping Mad Moose to get to that point to where I'm in somewhat that founder role, and we've defined her role in Mad Moose as like a continued advisor. But yeah, now we're both basically starting to take on more partners. Most of our partners have specifically been other outfitters in our space that do the exact same thing, like razor rentals or slingshot rentals. And now we're moving more towards any tour and attraction business that just needs to get it figured out. So yeah.
Nice.
And so you're
That's
not doing any sort of revenue. You're not doing any sort of revenue share. This is like you take a fixed fee for your consulting services essentially on a monthly basis.
Yeah. And it's fun for me. Like I like the variety, and my favorite part is that scale phase, right? Like I get that they went and built the business and they've got some sales channels, and we're just going to come in and like crank that up, see what's possible, show them like customer types that maybe we're visiting but they weren't marketing to, so they get more traffic. So identifying like new products that they could launch. And I think a big move for a lot of companies too is just figuring out like, what is your cost? You know, like they're doing a lot of rentals and tours, but they have no idea what their actual like cost every time they send out a unit is. So then they're not able to like really compete, right? If I don't know my cost is for us like $137, right? Every time it goes out, then I can't say, oh, my minimum margin on this product is $250. So market demand might be $650, and anywhere in there, as long as every machine is going out every day, we're good. You know? But if
you got to know what your
that,
contribution margin
I'm
is.
like, I don't know if I want to give a discount. Like, and then they just pass on all this business that would have helped with the top line, and they're stuck with the expense because that doesn't really go away. So
do you guys see this too? Like people, I've been talking too much, but
you're good.
I feel like people are really afraid to cut prices. It's like there's this mental block about it, you know?
Yeah.
I think on both ends of that, honestly, like
Both,
cut and raise prices.
Both.
Like people are hesitant. Oh yeah.
They get nervous to raise the price, or they get like all caught up because it's still their business, right? So it's like almost like a personal cut, like, oh, our stuff isn't worth this much anymore. It's like, no, you're still making great margin. Like, this is awesome. Like, just the market's demanding discounts this year is what we found in our area, right? So we've been throwing out discounts. Like yesterday, I sent out a mess tax for $100 off, and we got 10 bookings like right off the text same day. So it's that kind of stuff that brings in the cash, right? And then it's just all about fulfillment. We already have staff scheduled to be there anyways, so the more rides, the better. Yeah, exactly. So
what are some of those processes or automations or systems that like you and Shelby and the rest of the team like have implemented in Mad Moose, or maybe things that you guys are working on with other partners? Like what are some of those systems that have really helped scale the business?
Yeah, we've kind of started, I mean, and I haven't done this for years upon years, right? Like this is like end of last year we started taking on partners till now. So like in the 6 months to 10 months though, it's become pretty obvious that there's kind of a clear pathway to like building a tour and attraction company. And I don't even know if I'd say pathway, but there's like really key components that you need to have to make the next decision. Like if you don't know who your customers are, then you're not going to be able to really define like clear products to advertise, right? So you might just say like, hey, we do razor rentals, and that's like what your ad says. But you might not advertise your like specific location. So you're going to hit the person that cares about riding a cool razor, but you're not going to hit the person that wants to just go see the Flintstone house. Like that's all they care about. They don't care how they get there. So there's like you got to like look from your customer view. So one of the cool things that we do, and I rely on Google heavily, right? Just because there's so much traffic there. One of the cool things we do is we go into our reviews, because that's the best way to see how your customers see your business, and you identify like customer types. So when we go to a business, we'll just scan the reviews and read through them all, and we'll identify like why people bought, right? And if you can put those reasons super clear in the beginning of the customer journey, then it's easy for them to like see it and as long as it's relevant and resonates with them, then they buy.
Yeah. I feel like you could make a chat GPT for that nowadays too. You just throw in all your reviews, say, hey, what are my key selling points?
You can
boom,
finally,
you know,
you can finally search reviews now. I bet that's a welcome change, Spencer, that happened like in the last year or two.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what we do. Like I'll go in, and if you go to my reviews and you just search Flintstone House, you'll see all the reviews that deal with that, and then you just get all those and you put them on your product landing pages. You put them in videos. You can find that customer and identify them and ask them to do a video, like whatever you want to do. It makes it really easy for sure.
Man, when you said Flintstone House, I thought you were just pulling a random word out of your that you made up,
dude.
but that's like a real place.
Yeah, we have a tour called the Flintstone House Tour. So,
wow.
Is this where he lived? The family?
No. We're probably gonna get sued too. I don't know.
Well, it was a real story. Like they were real people, right?
Yeah. The
That
dinosaurs.
is cool. You mentioned you
It's
sent
a
out.
really cool spot. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brett.
You mentioned you sent out a big text blast. We've been experimenting with that. Any tools that you've liked recently, or just doesn't really matter what tool?
Yeah, I mean, you see it on all the Facebook pages and stuff. We've really used Podium since the beginning, and we use their phone system. I've heard Thomas is a really good one, but really it's just about looking at like the phone numbers, being able to tag them, sending out a mass blast of texts, and then doing it consistently, right? Like once or twice a month is what we do. And it's just to keep you top of mind with the guests. So next time they think of doing a jet ski or a side-by-side, like you're top of mind. That's a really cool trick. Another new one that we learned this year and did from a guy in Hawaii is a voicemail drop. So we did a voicemail drop with like 15,000 phone numbers of past customers. So we just framed it like, hey, you were a past guest with us. You won a drawing for a $100 gift card. Give us a call to redeem it. Yeah, and then we just got like 1,500 calls in 4 days, and
that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. We gave out
Sounds
600 gift cards like in 5 days. 600 $100 gift cards, I should say.
Yeah, wow.
But we know if they book, it's still above our price point that we need, and so we just do it. You know.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you said you've been getting a lot of clients from, or like a lot of people have been talking about Airbnb, and for those listening, like what happened with that? They closed experiences and then reopened them. Is Airbnb something that people should still be looking at if you're in the boat tour space or any space like it?
You just have to have like the proper insurance. I mean, I don't know how they picked what companies they took off, but it seemed to be more of like a qualitative issue in the fact that they were selling. It probably was nothing bad about their specific tour, but maybe it didn't match their customer as much as they wanted it to. So they're like, okay, we got to get rid of the noise and the stuff that people are buying. That way they have more clear choices, right? So yeah, cool. But we're still on there. That's been a good one. I think Airbnb has matched TripAdvisor for us, or Viator now. Yeah. So they do. Wow. Yeah, 100 to 150,000 a year through Airbnb on tours. Yeah, that's
a lot of manual work on the back end because they don't really connect to any reservation systems. Do you guys have any hacks on how to deal with that other than just manually inputting all of that?
Yeah, there's not a connection.
Me neither, man.
Yeah, we made items for it. I was talking because I think we used to share
smart,
the same.
Though that is a hack.
Yeah, we built our own items. They're zeroed out, so it still pulls the resources and accounts for it. Yeah, and we don't have any restrictions on it either, just because we've leveraged our fleet already. So usually we have available slots. We can just push them in. So that's been helpful.
Nice.
That is a smart little hack. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's what are your goals with Rise, like as a business model itself, right? To build this sort of like partnership with tour operators, like what's your vision for how big this could be? Do you envision yourself having a whole team of people assisting other tour operators and adding additional services? Because it seems to me right now it's like all based on like your star power and like you're the guy. right? And access to you and one-on-one consulting. But there's a natural limit to the amount of scale you can get with that, right? There's only so many partners you can take. So I'm just wondering what's your long-term goal for this business?
Yeah, it's when you get into like a coaching business, like what you're really in the business of is finding good coaches, right? Like you can have as many customers as you want, but like really usually your limiting factor is finding good coaches. So for us, it'd be a matter of like getting 16 to 20 partners is what we can realistically handle right now. And then my fun side is there's like two really things that a lot of companies ask for. They have like no clue how to develop a sales team, and they're really bad at sales. Like when somebody calls to book, right? They're order takers instead of
Yes.
salespeople.
We talk about
And
that a
then-
lot on this show. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Dude, I love that stuff because I did phone sales forever.
I always tell everything. Our new franchisees always tell them like answering the phone is not customer service. It's sales.
Yeah.
You got to
difference,
completely
right?
reframe the way you're thinking about it.
Yeah. So we've gone in and implemented that, and I want that to be kind of a branch of Rise. So next year we're planning on launching somewhat of like a sales team that can take the calls for you or train your sales staff if you have staff. But I think that's like an expense that a lot of tour operators have that they don't necessarily know what to do with because they're answering calls and it's messing with the whole fulfillment because there's customers that are looking for an awesome experience, but then there's this missed sale that can happen. So it's like we've divided that out in our business. So all of our locations, all the calls funnel to like one or two people that are salespeople in our shop, and there's like no distractions, right?
Yeah.
So they're able to take all the calls and do somewhat the customer service for people that are like showing up and calling. But once they get on location, they're handed over to like the staff that's on site, and that's
Right.
the main goal.
I've always thought about that, about building like a tour call center, who trained on the booking platform. And then I've even run models, like looking at the financial model. I'm like, you can't make any money doing it.
I can
At least every
confirm
time I look at it.
Kai brings it up once a month. He's like,
Every-
we should get a
every year.
sales floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, we're going to train these people, and you do it, and you're like, how much are people willing to pay for it, and the expenses, and you're like, oh, it's not a good business, but someone needs to do it.
Yeah.
At least
So
when
it's
I've
always
like pro formaed it out.
It's always a fun thought until you actually start thinking about it. You're like, okay.
So,
we always
but-
daydream. I don't know if you do, Justin, about building a like customer service sales center for our franchise. Right? It's like, I'm sure it comes up naturally all the time. And then you're like, well, how do I even do this? And then so many of the franchisees or operators are so jealous. Like they really want to talk to the customers all the time. And they believe they're the only ones that can do it,
Yeah.
you know? And so and some people are terrible and know they're terrible, but they're not willing to pay to give it up. And so there's a lot of mess there.
Yeah, especially if it's coming from the top, right? Where it's like, hey, we're going to take a cut to pay the staff, and it seems like just another revenue source for the top level.
That they
right?
could have done without you,
They
quote
could have just
unquote,
done
you
it.
know?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
tough part.
Then you
I
start
had this
feeling like the OTAs, right? Like, but we sell better. Well, they don't want to pay us anything, and they think we're bad. It's like, yeah.
I had this conversation with a franchisee today, and I was wondering what your thoughts were on a good indicator for like lack of phone sales, like, you know, like you said, order takers versus salespeople. Sometimes when I see that the back office sales or the sales coming from the phone are less than 10%, it's an indicator they're either not answering fast enough or they're not trying to close on the phone. Do you ever use that as an indicator? Or this goes for
Like
Justin too.
the actual close ratio.
Yeah, like for instance, one of our locations might have 20% of sales go through over the phone, and another location might have 3%. And a lot of times that's, you know, I can tell that the person with the 20% over the phone is a salesperson, and they're really owning the sales calls.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't track it like between the thing that we track is the actual numbers. So their KPIs is like machines booked, and then we track the average booking value because they're incentivized. So we do a whole commission structure. Basically, if they book a sale for $250 and that's their average booking value for the whole month, like they never sold anything like really higher than that, and they're getting paid like $5 per sale. where if they're up like 650 plus, then they're going to get paid like $40 per sale. So they're incentivized to basically do add-ons, upsells, more time, because the more value
I like
you
that.
provide, it makes sense for more value exchange, right? And that's been super successful because they're actually wanting to win every call. But all the calls are recorded and transcribed. So most of the biggest training that we look for is they're the ones asking questions instead of like giving the answers. That's basically the biggest thing that you can look at a call. It's like, hey, if you're like answering questions, especially in the beginning of the call, like you want to be asking a lot of questions in the beginning.
And
It's
you guys
just
use
hard to-
Podium for all your phone sales, and that's how you track everything.
Yeah. And the other big thing that we track, their last KPI, is the response time. So their response time to a call needs to be like less than a minute, whether it's text or answered. So, because I've seen like less than 5 minutes is decent, but they're going to like book online or call another company. But if we get back to them in less than a minute, like that's our KPI now for phone calls. It like needs to get to that extreme of like,
That's
you gotta
nuts.
get back to these people fast. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, think about when you travel, right? Like if I went to San Antonio and looked up a food tour and like nothing available. Okay, next. Looked up another one. Oh, I can't call them. Next, right?
Totally.
Nobody had time slots. Okay, screw that. I'm going to a escape room. So that's what I ended up doing because they had an available time slot and I could book. So it's so fast on mobile, right? Like if you think of how fast people process data now, it's just the response time's crazy. Like you've got to get back to people like really fast. Yeah.
You can automate some of that too. If you miss a phone call, you can automate a text to go to that person saying, "Hey, we're on the other line right now. I'll call you back in just a minute," right? And
Yep.
you can
all that
automate
stuff.
some of that stuff, which helps a lot.
Yeah, all that's you can do through Podium, or I'm sure Thomas too. Like you miss a call or it's after hours, it says, "Hey, we're closed, but we'll get back to you." But the commission makes a huge difference. I didn't pay commission for the longest time, and now that we have it, like we paid $8,000 commission last month, but it's but we're beating all of our goals every month. So what can I say against that, right?
Yeah, you can't be
You
mad.
know?
Yeah.
Like we're 150 machines over our goal, and our average booking value is 450. So how can I say anything against that? So yeah.
I like the dramatic like step function and commissions based on ticket value. It's kind of a cool structure where it's like anyone can get those like low hanging fruit sales because like you're just an order taker, but the extra skill comes in by like stacking on the added value, and you're really heavily incentivizing that side. That's a cool structure.
Yeah, I learned that from phone sales when I was at Vivint, and then I did door-to-door sales, and they kind of have that same tier. It's kind of like a back-end bonus, so that's kind of where that idea
Interesting.
came from. Yeah.
I've got a couple questions of things that I've learned from you over the years. One, I think we talked maybe like a year ago, and you guys did like this cool event with like a YouTuber or something. I forget exactly what happened, but I feel like can you like retell me that story, because I think it's a really interesting way that you guys earned revenue.
Yeah, so that was a ton of fun. Like we still do the event every year. We just did it this year. It was crazy windy this year, not like the best event, but we still like did a bunch of income, which was crazy because YouTube fans, they just go. Like they don't care if it's windy or rainy. Like they're just out there in the sand getting sandblasted watching these guys. But so what we do is we have like an affiliate team where they go and sign local affiliates. And these are influencers. And I kind of picked this off of your idea too from your website where, you know, any influencer will have come do a ride, whether they're, you know, they're eligible right away or they're refund eligible. We took that from you and really implemented that. But yeah, we found a YouTuber. Shelby was actually the one that signed him up. So she signed him up before they even thought about having an event. And it was a off-road recovery YouTube channel called Matt's Off-Road. And then they decided to do an event where they needed shuttles for what they were going to do up on the mountain. So they wanted to shuttle people up to view the carnage of them dragging. They have these big recovery vehicles, and they're just dragging cars across the rocks. So everybody wants to go up and watch it, right? And they're like, hey, we need a shuttle service. So we let them know, like, okay, like looking at those 3 days, I was like, okay, we'll provide the shuttle during the shuttle hours. but then we want to rent out the vehicles for after hours for people that want to just go play around. So we actually provided like 65 machines for free to do the shuttle. And then they helped us recruit the drivers. But yeah, and then we did a ton of business at their event. Like it's about 70K of revenue now for 3 days because of that, like,
It's awesome.
affiliate YouTube relationship. So I've definitely learned, like, not to turn away any affiliate, even like if they don't have a lot of followers, just because if they have relevant customers and they have 1,500 followers for our price point, right? Like a few of them book, that's great. So
So they're making the affiliate is quote unquote the influencer making X amount of percent or something on sales through that link on the YouTube channel, but also you guys got some extra revenue just from this event too. But it's cool because like over the year you get, you know, random bookings that come through that person's affiliate link because they made a YouTube video 2 years ago. And like, I feel like that's a huge piece of our industry that like no one really does, is like getting affiliates and letting people sell your tours for you. You know, I don't even do it well.
Yeah.
Like I have a couple affiliates and that's it. You know, it's like, that's it.
it's basically like the FHDN, but you do it yourself and like set your own deals, right? So if you do that, it's 20%. For us, we set up the majority, if not like every affiliate, on a 10% discount, 5% kickback rule. So these guys get 5% on everything they send our way. So that 70K, they get 5% of that. And then anyone that uses their code for the remainder of the year gets 10% off besides the event. Because we did special event pricing too. Like, hey, because you're coming to the event, you're getting this deal for this slot of time. Because it didn't make sense to be like, oh, rent a machine for 8 hours because there's the shuttle. So we're like, hey, here's your time slot. If you're going to do the afternoon fun ride, then it's $250 or whatever, and then the whole fleet's gone, right?
Yeah.
So it was a good deal because then you just find things that work. Like they found a sponsor for fuel, so we didn't have to pay for any of the gas. But a lot of those affiliate relationships, you just work with. The ones that pay out a lot are vacation rental companies. So like for us, you find a company that manages like 1,000 vacation houses, and you get on their website, and then the cool ones are the ones that have tablets in every home, because then you get on the tablets in every single home, and you build those affiliate
Those work.
links. Oh, those work really well. Yeah.
We've tried so many of those strategies, and we've struggled to get traction with any sort of affiliate program. Maybe it's the nature of our types of businesses and the need for larger groups and things like that, maybe. But maybe we're just not doing it right. We need to,
Yeah, there's like a couple key things, I guess, that you could switch around to have it make sense, but it depends on your area, right? And what you want to offer based on like the value of the affiliate. So we have 3 affiliate tiers, but yeah, we built out kind of a whole thing, but we could send it to you and maybe give you some ideas.
Yeah,
But that's
awesome.
our goal,
I
is
would
to
love
get
that.
to 1,000 affiliates by next June. Yeah.
Crazy.
So
You said 1,000 affiliates by next June?
yeah, we're at like 147.
I've got like 4 and I'm happy.
Yeah,
Dude,
we have like 2.
make a lot of channels. Just put it out there, because content.
I
is
love
huge,
that
right?
idea. Yeah, it
7.
is. It's
If you're all over
Yeah.
Google and all these pages, like that's how you're gonna win in the future, right? To get on an AI summary, you're either gonna have like a super killer blog, or you're the place to go. Like nobody knows of anyone else. Yeah.
The other big thing that I wanted you to hopefully touch on is your Google point of interest hack. I played around with this at one of my locations and it works pretty well. So I'm curious if you can enlighten people about this kind of cool little hack that you've done and how it's kind of like affected Mad Moose and maybe other businesses.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you brought that back up, because I just got an email last night. Google sends you the emails on the views, right?
Yeah.
So I used this at Arrival last year when I did one of the breakouts on tourist attractions, is what we call them. But it has like 350,000 views now. It's just built up, and I haven't like touched it. So, but yeah, pretty much what it is like, as a traveler, if you go to Google Maps and look at things to do, like all of the things to do items are tourist attractions. So what you can do is that people don't always know about is like you can go make your own tourist attractions. So like for us, we went and made a tourist attraction called the Flintstone House, right? Or Top of the World, or the Hobbit House. And you can come up with just any cool name that people would want to buy that they see either along your tour or it's a destination tour and it's the actual destination. So a lot of them that you want to make are just focused around certain things. Like the one that had 350,000 views, like we found some dinosaur tracks and we just put Babylon dinosaur tracks. And now it's got that much organic traffic. But it's a
And
really
how does
good
it point
free
back
way
to you as the business?
Yeah. The secret sauce
Yeah.
is coming out, Kai.
Yeah. I'm like, you want me to share my screen? So go to like things to do right there, the third blob over from the search bar. If you go right at the
Top middle. Yeah, top middle.
Yeah,
of
top
your
middle.
screen.
There's a
There
little
you go.
camera. And then you can see they're all listed as tourist attractions, right? So if I'm a company that's trying to get tourists onto my like tour or activity, then look where all the tourists are, right? They're going to Fisherman's Village. They're going to Bologna Discovery Park. These are visitors, right? Like not a lot of locals know about it, but they're not going to like be visiting. So you can go there and leave reviews on Fisherman Village and say, hey, I love this place. While I was here, I went and did a pub tour,
Yeah,
and do
yeah.
shout outs for your own business.
Or I saw this while I was on the paddle pub or whatever.
Yeah. And you can do a Q&A too, right? There's Q&As.
Yeah, the Q&A is the nice thing, yeah.
You can say, what else is there to do near the park, right? And then someone else can go in and answer and say, yeah, paddle pub tour. So I don't know how I'm saying that right.
So
I like that.
Yeah, I did this with we along our like my Rock Springs tour. There's a few like known places, but they're not on maps. Like we call it the Emerald Cut, and a lot of people know it as the Emerald Cut, but it was never on Google Maps at all. So when Spencer was telling me this, I was like, oh, I need to add that as like a tourist attraction on the map. And now if you were to go to that, again, I did the Q&A thing, similar, like how did you get there? Oh, we used Get Up and Go kayaking. And it's funny, like I don't own that point of interest on the map, even though I made it. Like I don't reply to reviews on there. No one knows that like Justin made this point of interest on the map. But it just lives there and it has reviews and it gets like thousands of views every month. And so to Spencer's point, people click on it and they read through the reviews or they read through the Q&As and then they're like, oh, I want to go to Emerald Cut. Like, oh, let me use Get Up and Go kayaking to get there. And we have, like, you guys probably have these like funny, nuanced name things on your tours of like, oh, we have one called like the Banana Sandbar, right? Like you guys probably have made up names or your captains have made up names for these different places that you go along your tours that just like stick with the company. You can make those as like little tourist attractions and you can tell your guests like this is Emerald Cut, and then like now they know about it and future people know about it and they can actually review Emerald Cut online instead of your business if they wanted to. But it's just a really interesting way to get a lot of traffic, and as people are searching the map like Brett just was, they may find a name of something. Like I would be, if I saw Flintstone House, I'm going to click on it and be like, what is that? And then they see photos, they see questions, they see reviews.
The only way to get there is with Mad Moose. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a pretty interesting little Google hack of like how to drive a little bit more, not a little bit more, like 350,000 people more traffic, to what your business is. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think total on last I looked, it was like 1.5 million views that I'd had on tourist attractions that I've like.
That's crazy.
Because I've made a bunch of them, right? So the more you have in a specific area, like if you were to look up things to do near Sand Hollow, you'll probably start to see a lot of ours. Like one of ours is Top of the World. That one I didn't originally make, but now I've like baked it into like a Mad Moose tourist attraction, right?
Yeah.
But it has like 241 reviews, right? I'm sure it's getting like an insane amount of views as far as a destination. And then all that points in an organic, natural way to your business. It's not like a sales pitch or anything. And you might think, oh, not a lot of people see it, but there's just thousands of people that roll through.
Yeah.
And look at that stuff.
Getting
yeah.
tagged.
That's really smart.
Right, yeah. So.
Do you use your personal Gmail or your like Google Workspace email setup?
I've used both, before, because I
Okay.
forget what I'm logged in on, right?
Yeah.
Respect.
But basically,
Yeah.
if you
Doesn't
have
really
one
matter.
you want to do, you just go to the map, you right click, and then you hit add a missing place, and then you'll categorize it as a tourist attraction, and then you'll submit it for review. They pass it off. Once they pass it off, you and 5 people go and leave reviews and comment on it and like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you leave photos like on all of ours. You'll see photos of like the Mad Moose machine with the Mad Moose flag and the Mad Moose in the review.
Yeah, and as much
There
as
you go.
as much as it is saturating Google Maps and stuff, you actually are helping people identify cool stuff to go do that may not be on Google Maps. Like you're contributing to the
Yeah.
platform. Yeah, that's awesome.
And they have cool names, so they sell well, right? If you build enough value around it and people see it on there, then all of a sudden on your tour, it's titled the Top of the World Tour. And they're like,
I'm
oh,
just
they have
thinking for a
tour
trolley
around
pub, we're gonna have like storm drain number 7, and that lamppost that is aged poorly.
No, Kai,
I'm joking.
We can get
make
real
your own.
creative.
it. Yeah. You could put a
I-
bunch of signs on a storm drain that like
Yeah.
point to different places with the distance.
You
That's
could
what
do-
ours is.
You could do murals,
Yeah.
like places people take pictures. We have a lot of pictures of people that stop and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kai, we'll have to ask
corner
Christina. We'll have to tell Christina
Yeah.
to clear our calendar tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go make time.
Top of the
We're
world
gonna
is
have
literally
like
like
1,000 tourist attractions in one square block,
Yeah.
and it's all just gonna be trolley pub randomly in the photo.
Yeah. Hey, it would work.
it w-
to get them all
I was gonna say it works.
It'll work.
It
Yeah.
works.
There you
Great
go.
power comes great responsibility. We'll take it easy.
Yeah, I'll just wait for a check here in the next 6 months.
An affiliate link, and we'll get you
Yeah.
covered with an affiliate link.
But that's a fun
hilarious.
one. Like literally, like it's kind of a game for me, right? Like going on and seeing where traffic is, and it's just redirecting attention, right? Yeah, Justin got me because he went and did the Gary Vee thing. Now I read that day trading attention book, and it's like got me thinking on all these. There's just fun ideas, right? There's so many ways to do it in social, but there's the biggest levers I've pulled have been in through Google. Like there's just way too much traffic through that site, so yeah. It just seems to make sense. Yeah.
It's smart. Are you sending all of your reviews to Google, to TripAdvisor? Like what are your thoughts on where reviews are going? I have some interesting takes on this, but I'm curious where you're sending most reviews to.
Yeah. I mean, my head's still on Google. I personally, for my market right now, like we're the top. I think we're 18 something. So I want to get it over 2,000. And then I'll probably push to OTAs because I'm planning a big OTA push in like end of August. So we're going to do a big push because through the winter, OTAs perform better than direct traffic because they're catching travelers that wouldn't necessarily stop here because it's not as warm. So it's a different customer type. They still travel through the winter to go see Zion, but they don't necessarily find us. So that's why we're doing a big OTA push. But after I get over that 2,000 tier, because it's pretty much 4 times anyone else that's in my area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to hit
Nice.
2,000. It's going to take
I
one
find
more
it-
month.
Yeah, I find it interesting because there's value in, I think the hidden value in sending reviews to OTAs is like they have ranking systems, to your point, like you're number 1, but like our Tampa location in 2021 is the number 1 outdoor thing to do in the entire world on TripAdvisor. And this past year, we were ahead of the Empire State Building on things to do on TripAdvisor.
It's crazy.
And it's like, if you rank that high, like it's just going to drive traffic, whether they book through TripAdvisor or they find your website link on there or whatever it may be. Like to me, that actually has helped us so much more than driving reviews to Google. And I find that like everyone spends a lot of time trying to drive reviews to Google, but you don't get a whole lot of extra benefit beyond being the number 1 thing. But if you're already 4 times ahead, it's like, why not just start sending them to TripAdvisor so you can be on these larger lists of like top thing to do in all of Utah now? What if you rank ahead of Zion? Like you know, like there's some really interesting things that can happen in that whole world if you really start focusing on driving traffic to TripAdvisor specifically. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, I really like that idea just because I've noticed that there's a company on the other side of Zion that does really well on that side of things, and I'm noticing that there's a big gap there on that side for their business. Like they're earning a lot of business that I'm missing out on still.
Yeah.
And it's all about diversifying so you have like a really good base of sales channels, right? So for our product, it's a little, we had this other aha moment because we're trying to sell like machines on TripAdvisor when the OTA platform's per person, right? And that's a little bit easier to do when you're already selling per person. So now basically, my board over here, that's what I have down is like we're building these per person items and getting that built through Fair Harbor to pull resources right. Once we get that correct, we're going to sell it like adult child, just like you would on an OTA. But it's building the right product for the right audience. Because if we go and sell machines, they might see activities and it's like, oh, that machine's $600. Let's just go on the one that's $99 per person.
Right.
And so, to your point, like there's huge markets in these companies, right? Like some people only go to TripAdvisor to search stuff to do, and they don't even care about Google. Some people use Google Map or Apple Maps, and if you're not on Apple Maps, then they'll never find you. So it is pretty interesting. And we found a company, one of our partners actually has TripAdvisor reviews mixed into his Google reviews on his Google profile page. So I see it moving like almost to like this weird conglomerate because I'm like, how do you have, I don't understand. Like they just put TripAdvisor reviews in your review system. I'm like, that's smart because if you look at Apple, that's who they use, right? They're either using TripAdvisor or heaven forbid Yelp, right? To like showcase reviews because they don't have Apple reviews. So
I was just talking about Yelp earlier. I
think
agree.
Put them anywhere you get them, right? Wherever your customer's finding you, just make them leave a review. And if you start getting reviews from TripAdvisor or Viator, like that's great because it's probably gonna like show up in Google soon, anyways, right? So you're gonna win. You're gonna win on all fronts because you have the most content out there that shows you're legit. Yeah.
We usually shoot for like a 3-to-1 ratio between Google and TripAdvisor. You know, like I feel like there's like a minimum number of Google reviews you need to have just to be a legit business. Maybe call it 250. And then once you do that, then it's like, okay, now start to push them towards other ecosystems where like the list effects and everything else start being helpful.
I find too that we've tried like just putting both review links in the emails and letting customers decide where they want to leave a review.
Sure.
Because otherwise sometimes people don't have a TripAdvisor account and they don't want to like have to go through that to just leave a review, or vice versa. Like sometimes it makes you create an account on Google, whatever, to leave a review and you know, just put both of them and see where most people leave the reviews. I find is kind of interesting, but there's one big thing that I think a lot of people do miss out on the TripAdvisor reviews, and this is a cool little way to get reviews on both, but maybe in your follow-up emails or follow-up texts, like send them to Google to leave a review. But in TripAdvisor, there's TripAdvisor Review Express, where you can copy and paste all of your customer emails into, and it will send them an e-blast specifically to leave a review. And it's super simple.
I used to do that every quarter. Yeah.
We do it weekly at
Oh, really?
I've never done that. I'm excited.
Yes,
I've never done
huge. It's crazy. And it gives you results on how many people actually leave reviews through that TripAdvisor Express. So like, you know that it's working if it's actually working, or you know if it's not. But it's cool because a lot of people, I've seen reviews where people have already left one on Google, and then we'll send this like TripAdvisor Review Express out every week, and they'll then leave another review on TripAdvisor because it's simple, and we send them this blast through TripAdvisor. And
I think through Express,
a lot of people
correct
don't
me
use
if I'm
it.
wrong, Justin, but through Express, they don't even have to have a TripAdvisor account, right?
I don't think so. I think you're correct. Yeah, it's very easy to leave a review. It's like in the email almost. It's like, what do you rate this to? Or and like, it's very simple to leave a review. It's I don't think many people even know TripAdvisor like has that whole Review Express system that you've got to log into the TripAdvisor side of things rather than the Viator side of things to access the TripAdvisor Review Express. So it's a little confusing, but it's a nice little hack to get some more reviews.
As of this year, Zola has Review Express integration, which has been really cool.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, some booking systems are integrated with Review Express. Yeah, so they can skip them.
But you can't delay it. And Justin, I recommended that to Zola because I was like, man, it really does work 10 days later. Like that's when people leave. Yeah.
Or they'll leave a second review because they kind of forgot maybe if they left one on Google a week ago.
Like, dang, I thought I did it already.
Yeah,
especially
right. Like,
on
here's a
our
5.
tours.
Yeah.
Especially on our alcohol-driven tours. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like right
remember.
after they don't remember.
Do another tip request. Yeah, like, hey, just in case you forgot.
Tip the owner.
Tip.
There should be like a tip the owner request like 10 days later.
Feeling tippy today, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
funny. Yeah, I really like to one other thing with tips, or not with tips, with reviews that I find is useful, is that Elf site widget plugin that you can put on your website that compiles all of your reviews from all the different review sites and shows off how many total reviews you have. It's kind of like that Amazon. Cool. It's kind of like that Amazon method of like people shop for the things with the most reviews. And I know TripAdvisor has their own review widget, like Google has their own review thing, but like you can put in an external review widget that compiles multiple review sites to give you one overall, here's all of the reviews. And that has been really nice for us. We have 34,000 reviews now. So for people to log on and see 34,000 5-star reviews is a huge little boost of like social proof,
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Giving them those proofs early. Definitely. It's like, I'm on the right page. Everyone does this when they come to whatever.
Yeah, we use Nudgify or whatever. Right? Yeah.
We have our total up there too. So, real quick question, Justin: do you combine different locations into one widget and put them on every location?
We have like our main homepage where it has all of our reviews, right? And then on everyone's individual page, they have all of their own individual reviews. Because I want people to read. I want people to read recent reviews for their location. It pulls in photos if people left photos on the reviews. Like I want people to see that for that location and not have different expectations of what they're going to get,
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for.
I mean, the thing I liked about your site too was I see sometimes like an outfitter make this mistake where all they focus is on the location. But I liked how you have the locations, but also it's like, here's just the top tours in Florida. Like if you don't care about the location, or just about the experience, like just go on one of these featured Florida tours. Cause sometimes like when you go to visit a new area, you're like, I don't have any clue where anything is, but I just want to do that tour and I'll drive an hour or two, right? Like people come up for the day from Vegas and drive 2 hours just to do our tour. And so you have a lot, there's different kinds of people out there, and if they see something really cool they want to do, they'll just change their trip around it. Those are like those pre-planner people that like book 3 months in advance, and they're like, okay, I'll do the activity first, then I'll find somewhere to like sleep, or I'll just
there you go. Yeah, we like them in the winter as well when we get off-season revenue. They're booking.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I added a map functionality too on and maybe I might have even seen this on Kai's site or someone else's, but there's like a map functionality where you can filter down. Yeah, I think I saw this on your guys' site, Kai, where you can like filter a radius of like where you're traveling to, and it'll show you locations in that radius. So for people like me that have a lot of locations in a relatively close by area, I want to get them to like, we get the question all the time, like, what's the closest location to Orlando? And now you can just like filter in a map that will show you any location within 50 miles, And I feel like if there's ways to refine that customer journey a little bit so it's easier for them to find those things, like why not? And it even has filters of like locations that have manatees, locations that have monkeys, locations that have dolphins. Like you can filter by that so you know what you're looking for specifically,
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's super helpful. I mean, I'll tell you my journey through your site because that's exactly what I did. Because I didn't know we were going to Orlando, but I don't.
Where am I going? Yeah.
I don't know if Central Orlando is Orlando or East or West. So I'm like, so which is it? And I was kind of confused. And so then I just zoomed into the map, and found there were 2, Winter Park and Rock Springs. And so then I knew that, oh, it's in Central. I went back up and I checked out Silver and Winter. And then Winter was the only one that had a night tour. So that was like my thought process as I went through your site.
That's cool. Yeah. I love that. Cool, man. Well, thank you for all these tips, tricks, hacks, man. I'm excited that you've got this new kind of venture that you're going on. I think it's a huge missing piece in our industry. There's probably going to be more of that, I think, in the future. You know, there, especially the people that have done it well, which you obviously have with Mad Moose and other things that you've done. So I can see that Rise is going to be just a further extension of what you've already done, and people, I'm sure, will get a lot of value out of your experience, your knowledge, your little tips and tricks along the way, you know, and so, yeah, good luck with all of that, and thanks for coming on here.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
yeah, how do people find you?
Email, text, or call me. So we've got a website, riseexecutive.partners, that we just barely put up. But yeah, email is just spencer@riseexecutive.partners. And yeah, that's kind of my main goal with that, is to go a lot of different places, find really good products, helping them package it up and then sell a ton of them, you know. It's a lot easier to run a business when you've got cash coming in.
You're not wrong.
Sales will cure everything, you know. That was my favorite thing that I learned in college, right? The one thing was like sales cures all. So helping people like navigate that, especially when it's went from being really easy to like, oh wait, how do I win over a customer again? Like that's kind of what we're looking to do. So yeah, we're excited.
Awesome, man. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
I gotta work, grind. That's just the way it is. I gotta get up, scale, and grow my biz. I gotta scale, grow, get up, go.